Gil Kaminski and Gil Kaminski, and Gil is an advocate for person-centered hearing health care and wellness, and she has the unique lived experience of being a daughter of a cochlear implant surgeon who is also a cochlear implant recipient. Welcome, Gil.
Hi, thank you, Holly. Hi, everyone. So thank you so much for having me. My name is Gil Kaminski, and I'm really excited to speak with you today about including families in adult hearing care. I'm the CEO of a company called Humalon. It's a public benefit corporation that helps people navigate hearing loss. My experience with hearing loss and my hearing loss journey started as a child. And like Holly mentioned, as I was growing up, my mother was growing deaf. My mother, Professor Michal Luntz, is also a cochlear implant surgeon and a hearing researcher. So you could say I really grew up in the world of hearing health and communication. I'm very, very excited that the Living Guidelines Project is including person-centered care and the family in the recommendations. And so I'll talk a little bit about that now. And you can move to the next slide, please. Great. So first thing is, why should we include the family in adult hearing care? And I think a lot of this was covered in the previous presentations today, so that makes my job a little bit easier. The first thing is that in general, when we think about healthcare and about wellness, including the person's support network, their family and close friends, is really, really important in anything healthcare related. And so it's also true here. The second thing is when you think about hearing, we think about communication. It's really important to include the people that we communicate with the most, our communication partners, not only as part of the journey from using different hearing technologies, but also just thinking about communication and how we communicate together in the most productive and optimal way. And how do we help make the world more accessible for the person with hearing loss and their family. And then the last part of why it's really important to include the family in this journey and in the care is because hearing loss does impact all the family members in different ways. And it's really a team effort when you think about having a family member with hearing loss. You can move to the next one, please. Thank you. And I just wanted to mention something about self-advocating because I'm going to mention that in my next slides. So there's two different things when I think about self-advocating that I think about. The first one is the fact that when you have hearing loss, you need to coach your environment all the time. And what I mean by that is you need to ask people around you, for example, to sit on the right side of you so you can hear better. And maybe you need to ask the person in the reception to take their mask off or move their hand from their mouth. And every time that you do that, you're self-advocating. And for someone with hearing loss, that happens all the time, daily and multiple times throughout the day. And then another part of self-advocating is when you think about system advocacy, when we think about going to insurance companies or governments or big institutions to ask them to make things more accessible for us. And in the next few slides, when I talk about self-advocating, I'm mainly talking about the daily coaching your environment aspect of advocating. You can move to the next one, please. So when I think about how to include families in hearing care, there's really three big pillars that I am looking forward to seeing being more and more included in the care. The first one is helping people understand what to expect. The second one is strategies for effective communication. And the third one is self-advocacy. And I'm going to talk a little bit about each of them. When I'm thinking about all those three, I want you to think about not just the person who has hearing loss, but also the impact on all the different family members. So we're really thinking about including the family members so we can better support the person with hearing loss, but also so we can better support the family members. You can move to the next one, please. Great. So for the first thing is what to expect. And a lot of people made really great comments as far as what to expect with hearing loss throughout the journey of someone's life, whether you've had hearing loss for a long time or if you're just getting used to it. And I actually want to lead with a story here of someone from our community. And this individual has had hearing loss for a really long time. but now they're becoming a parent. And so for them, it's very anxiety provoking to think about how will I hear my baby? How will I hear my child? So talking to other people, for example, who can help them understand what to expect, what type of strategies are out there for them and their partner when they're becoming new parents who have hearing loss, was very, very meaningful. So when I think about what to expect, I think about what to expect from the technology, what to expect from the environment, what to expect of different parts of life as you move through life with hearing loss. You can move to the next one. Thank you. And then the second piece is strategies for effective communication. When I think about growing up with my mother and everything that she's taught me from her experience, both as a researcher, as a surgeon, and as a person with hearing loss and cochlear implants, I feel very, very fortunate because there's a lot of things that I know and that I've known to teach my children and that I've known to do because my mom told me. So for example, I know which side of my mother I need to walk on. It's a second nature for me at this point. I know that if I meet someone else who's not my mom, who has hearing loss or who I think might have hearing loss, I'm very thoughtful of how I sit and where's the sun, and making sure that I'm not with my back to the sun, for example. And all of these things, the more that we teach families and communication partners early on, the better service we can give people. We can really overcome a lot of frustrations and other issues before they even start. You can move to, thank you. And then the last piece is what I mentioned before with self-advocacy. Like other people mentioned on the call today, when you have hearing loss, the reality is that you have to self-advocate all the time. And that is both empowering, but also has, you have to be aware of what that could feel like. Some people are better at self-advocating or feel more comfortable doing it. And some people, it's not natural for them to do that. And so when you think about that, you want to think about, first of all, how do you make family members and the person with hearing loss themselves aware that this has to become almost a second nature to self-advocate and coach your environment? How do you help people be more comfortable with that? How do you show them examples of how to do it in a way that they'll be comfortable? And then the second piece is also help them facilitate the right conversations with their family. For example, when do they want to be supported? When do they just want to be listened to about their day when it comes to self-advocacy? You can move to the next one. Thank you. So thank you so much for listening. I would love to connect with all of you. You can find us on humalon.com. My email is gili.kaminski@humalon.com, and we're on social media at Humalon Hearing.